Caitlyn Clark just did something that no one saw coming. An exhibition game featuring the Indiana Fever and the Brazilian national team sold out in just 10 minutes. Think about it. This isn't the WNBA finals. It's a preseason game, and yet the demand is so off the charts that tickets disappeared before most fans even had a chance to buy them. This level of hype is something we've never seen before in women's basketball. But how did this happen? What does it say about Caitlyn Clark's unmatched popularity? And just how crazy are the resale ticket prices? Let's break down this record-breaking moment and why Clark is already making history before even stepping on a WNBA court. Well, it took just 1 hour for Caitlyn Clark's return to Carberhawk Arena to be sold out. Tickets went on sale at 9 this morning. They were all gone before general sale to the public even started. Clark and the Indiana Fever are returning to the University of Iowa for a WNBA preseason game. Caitlyn Clark's influence on basketball has already reached levels that most athletes can only dream of, and she hasn't even played her first official WNBA game yet. The fact that her Indiana Fever vs. Brazilian national team exhibition game sold out in just 10 minutes is more than just a headline. It's a statement. It's proof that women's basketball is experiencing an unprecedented shift, one that is redefining how fans engage with the sport. To understand the full magnitude of what just happened, we need to go back and look at how Caitlyn Clark got here. Her story isn't just about breaking records or becoming the face of the WNBA before even stepping onto a professional court. It's about shifting an entire culture, one game at a time. Before we talk about the insane ticket sales, the outrageous resale prices, and what this all means for the future of the WNBA, let's rewind to where this all started, Iowa. Caitlyn Clark wasn't just a standout player at the University of Iowa, she was a phenomenon. In a sport where viewership has traditionally lagged behind the men's game, Clark did something that had never been done before. Her 2023 to 2024 season with the Iowa Hawkeyes wasn't just historic in terms of stats, it was historic in terms of engagement, attention, and demand. Her deep three-pointers became instant highlights, her confidence and swagger on the court turned her into a fan favorite, and her ability to take over games made Iowa basketball must-watch television. By the time she led Iowa to the NCAA Women's Championship game, Clark wasn't just a star, she was a movement. The championship game against LSU shattered records, bringing in 9.9 million viewers, making it the most-watched women's college basketball game in history. This level of viewership and interest was something women's basketball had never seen before, and it wasn't just about the numbers. Clark's influence was visible in ticket sales, merchandise, and engagement across social media. Everywhere you turned, people were talking about Caitlyn Clark and what she was doing for women's basketball. So when it was announced that she would be playing a preseason game in Iowa, back in the arena where she became a legend, it was expected to be a big deal, but no one could have predicted just how big. The moment tickets went on sale, it was chaos. Fans flooded ticket websites, desperately trying to secure a seat for what was, on paper, a meaningless preseason game. But this wasn't just any game. It was Clark's homecoming. This was a chance for Iowa fans to see their hometown hero one more time before she officially stepped into the WNBA spotlight. It took just 10 minutes for all 15,000 seats to be gone. That's right, an exhibition game sold out faster than most NBA playoff games. It never even made it to the general public, with season ticket holders and exclusive members snatching up all the seats before others had a chance. And then, the resale madness began. Tickets originally priced at a few $100s were suddenly skyrocketing on secondary markets. Some of the best seats in the house were listed for over $4,500, the kind of price you'd expect for a Super Bowl ticket, not a WNBA preseason game. This wasn't just a moment for Caitlyn Clark, this was a moment for women's basketball as a whole. It proved that the demand for women's basketball wasn't just growing, it was exploding. And this wasn't happening in Los Angeles or New York. This was happening in Iowa City, a place not exactly known for selling out basketball arenas in record time. To put this into perspective, just a few years ago, WNBA teams were struggling to fill half of their arenas. Some teams were playing in front of a few thousand fans at best, With ticket prices barely moving the needle, the league has always had die-hard supporters, but it never had a megastar who could command attention at this level. And now with Caitlyn Clark in the picture, everything has changed. We've seen glimpses of this before, back in 2023, when Angel Reese and LSU faced South Carolina. The game drew more than 1.5 million viewers, making it one of the most watched regular season women's college basketball games ever. The NCAA tournament that year also saw record-breaking viewership, with Clark's Iowa games drawing millions of fans who had never tuned into women's basketball before. That momentum carried over to 2024. And now we're seeing it translate to the professional level. The fact that an Indiana Fever preseason game, a game that in past years would have been an afterthought, sold out before the general public could even access tickets, proves that the WNBA is on the verge of something huge. But what does this mean for the league moving forward? For one, it's forcing teams to rethink their entire approach to attendance and scheduling. The Washington Mystics have already announced that their matchups against the Indiana Fever will be moved to a larger arena in Baltimore, increasing capacity from 4,200 to over 14,000 seats. Other teams are following suit, looking for ways to accommodate the surge in demand for Caitlyn Clark's games. This also raises an important question. Can the WNBA sustain this level of interest beyond just Caitlyn Clark? Clark is undoubtedly the biggest star the league has seen in a long time, but she's not the only one driving this growth. Players like Sabrina Ionescu, Aja Wilson, Angel Reese, and Breanna Stewart have all been building the league's foundation for years. The difference now is that Clark's presence is pushing the WNBA into new levels of exposure. She's not just a player. She's an event. Every game she plays in will be a must-watch, and the ticket sales prove it. It also raises an interesting debate. Should the WNBA expand their arena sizes? Right now, most teams play in smaller venues, which made sense in the past, but with this level of demand, there's an argument to be made that some teams need to move into NBA-sized arenas to meet fan interest. And what about the resale market? The fact that tickets for a preseason game are being listed for thousands of dollars means that scalpers are taking advantage of this surge in popularity. Some fans who genuinely wanted to see Clark play were shut out because tickets were being bought in bulk for resale profit. This is a problem that needs to be addressed as the league continues to grow. But one thing is certain. Caitlyn Clark has officially changed the game. She's not just making history on the court. She's breaking records off it. The WNBA is now on everyone's radar, and the excitement isn't slowing down anytime soon. The impact of Caitlyn Clark's historic ticket sellout isn't just about one game. It's about what this means for women's basketball, the WNBA, and the business of sports as a whole. This isn't just a temporary hype train. This is a fundamental shift. What happened with Clark's Indiana Fever versus Brazilian national team game isn't just a moment in sports history, it's a preview of what's to come. The Caitlyn Clark effect is real. For years, women's sports have struggled to gain the recognition, viewership, and financial investment they deserve. The talent has always been there, but the infrastructure and media attention have often fallen short. Caitlyn Clark is changing that in real time. The fact that a preseason game sold out in 10 minutes proves that she's not just another great player, she's a transformative figure, and the proof isn't just in ticket sales. Consider this, Clark's college games were breaking viewership records long before she entered the WNBA. When Iowa played LSU in the 2023 Elite Eight, the game brought in more viewers than most NBA playoff games, and when Iowa faced South Carolina for the 2024 NCAA Championship, it became the most watched women's basketball game in history. But even with all that momentum, few expected her impact to carry over to the professional level this quickly. There have been other WNBA stars who brought excitement to the league. Lisa Leslie, Sue Bird, Diana Taurasi, Maya Moore, but none have had this kind of crossover appeal before even stepping onto a pro court. Why? Because Clark represents something bigger. She's not just an elite scorer or a dominant playmaker. She's a cultural icon in the making. She plays with flash, confidence, and charisma, qualities that make her impossible to ignore. She's marketable, engaging, and genuinely enjoys the spotlight. This is why she's attracting fans beyond just basketball diehards. She's bringing new audiences to women's basketball, including young girls who now see a real role model on the biggest stage, casual sports fans who are just curious about the hype, and even NBA fans who respect her ability to shoot from Stephen Curry range. This is what the WNBA has been waiting for, a player who breaks barriers, captures attention, and forces the conversation about women's sports into mainstream media every single day. The WNBA has to adapt. Fast. Clark's rise is forcing the WNBA to rethink everything, from scheduling to marketing to arena sizes. Just look at what's already happening. The Washington Mystics had to move their games against the Indiana Fever to a bigger arena, boosting capacity from 4,200 seats to 14,000. That's a massive increase, and it's happening before Clark even plays her first regular season game. The Fever's road games are now among the most anticipated in the league, with other teams scrambling to capitalize on the Caitlyn Clark effect. For years, the WNBA has had trouble filling arenas. Now, for the first time, teams are worried about not having enough seats to meet demand. So what's next? One option is moving more games to NBA arenas. Most WNBA teams currently play in smaller venues, but if the demand continues to skyrocket, it might be time to go bigger. The NBA and WNBA have long operated on different financial scales, but Clark's presence is proving that women's basketball has the potential to generate serious revenue and fast. Another issue the league needs to address: scalping and resale prices. The fact that some preseason tickets were being resold for over $4,500 is both a good and bad sign. It proves that demand is real, but it also means many real fans were shut out in favor of ticket resellers looking to make a profit. This is an area where the WNBA will have to get creative, whether it's implementing ticket limits, introducing official resale markets, or ensuring that more fans have direct access to affordable seats. One thing is clear: the WNBA is no longer the same league it was just a few years ago. A business perspective: the Caitlyn Clark economy. The economic ripple effects of Caitlyn Clark's entry into the WNBA are just beginning. Take endorsements, for example. Clark signed a multi-million-dollar Nike deal, but that's just the start. Expect to see brands racing to sign her, with everything from sports drinks to luxury apparel looking to cash in on her popularity. Her presence also means higher ratings for WNBA broadcasts. Already, networks like ESPN and CBS are shifting their coverage to feature more Fever games, and advertisers are paying close attention. Increased viewership equals higher ad revenue, equals more investment in women's sports. It's a cycle that's been missing for years, and Clark is the catalyst to finally make it happen. But what does this mean for other players in the league? For one, it raises the bar for salary negotiations. Right now, WNBA salaries are still significantly lower than those in the NBA, but if Clark's presence results in more ticket sales, higher viewership, and bigger sponsorships, then there's a strong case for raising player salaries across the board. This could be a turning point for the entire financial structure of the league. Will this momentum last? With all this hype, the biggest question is, will Caitlyn Clark and the WNBA sustain this momentum? The answer depends on several factors. First, Clark has to perform at a high level. There's no doubt she's a generational talent, but the transition from college to the pros isn't always easy. The competition will be tougher, defenses will be designed to shut her down, and expectations will be sky high. But if her college career has shown us anything, it's that Clark thrives under pressure. The second factor is how the league markets her in the game as a whole. The WNBA can't just rely on Clark alone. They have to build storylines, rivalries, and narratives that keep fans engaged beyond just one player. This is where players like Aja Wilson, Sabrina Ionescu, Angel Reese, and Breanna Stewart become even more important. The WNBA needs a full cast of stars, and with the rising talent pool, it has a chance to create something special. Lastly, the WNBA has to capitalize on this moment by making the game more accessible. expanding TV deals, improving the fan experience, and ensuring that people who are new to the league stick around. A turning point in sports history, Caitlyn Clark's ticket-selling dominance isn't just a sports story, it's a business case study in how one player can completely change the landscape of a league. This is bigger than just one game selling out in 10 minutes. It's about what happens next, how the WNBA adapts, how fans engage, and how the world finally starts to view women's basketball as the powerhouse it truly is. Clark's journey is just beginning. But if this is what's happening before her first WNBA season even starts, imagine what's ahead. Women's basketball isn't just growing, it's exploding, and Caitlyn Clark is leading the charge. Caitlyn Clark just made history, and the season hasn't even started yet. A sold-out preseason game in 10 minutes, resale tickets going for thousands. This is just the beginning. If you thought the Caitlyn Clark effect was just hype, think again. Her impact on the WNBA is already breaking records, and we're only getting started. What do you think? Will Clark's WNBA debut be the most watched in league history?